Have you ever stood in the dog food aisle at the pet store staring at a wall of 50 different colorful bags, completely paralyzed? One bag has a picture of a dog on front. Another loudly proclaims it's grain-free or ancestral. Another bag is bright red and green, boasting about farm-fresh veggies and exotic meats like kangaroo or wild boar. We pick up these bags and pay $50, $60, sometimes $90, truly believing we are buying health, happiness, and longevity for our absolute best friends. We carry that heavy bag into the house, we pour it into their bowl, and we watch them wag their tails thinking we've done a great job. But what if I told you that the pet food industry is a multi-billion-dollar marketing machine designed specifically to trick you, the human buyer, rather than nourish the dog? And worse, what if the bag of food sitting in your kitchen right now is secretly filled with ingredients linked to fatal heart disease, artificial chemicals, and massive marketing lies? What if the very kibble you pour into your dog's bowl every single morning is actively cutting their beautiful life short? It's a terrifying thought, but today we are going to fix it together. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Tony Lee, your neighborhood veterinarian. I am so incredibly thrilled to be sitting down with you today. First off, I want to say a huge heartfelt thank you. I started this channel because I wanted to bring the advice I give daily in my clinic straight into your living room, and you all have made me feel so welcome. And I've been reading through all of your comments on our past videos, and my team and I noticed a massive trend. Dozens and dozens of you have been highly asking variations of the exact same question. Dr. Tony, I am so confused by the pet store aisles. What on earth should I actually be feeding my dog to make sure they live past 12 years old? Well, I hear you. As pet parents, we are trying our absolute best. But today, we are doing a deep dive. Grab a cup of tea or coffee, and maybe grab your dog's food bag too. We are going to talk about the dog food brands and specific types of dog foods you should absolutely never buy if you want your dog to reach their senior years healthy and thriving. I'll explain the shocking truth about how pet food is regulated, the sneaky tricks companies use, and the everyday things you must avoid doing at home to keep your pup safe. But I promise I won't leave you hanging. I know how frustrating it is when people only tell you what not to do. So, before the end of this video, I am going to give you the exact names of the 5 safe brands that veterinarians globally actually trust, and I'll explain exactly what makes them different from the rest of the pack. If you love your dog as much as I think you do, stick around for this entire video. Let's start with the first category of foods you should avoid, which are the bargain bin or extreme budget foods. Now, before we get into the details, let me say this very clearly. I'm a veterinarian who understands that everybody has a budget and times are tough right now. Please never feel guilty for feeding your dog what you can currently afford. A fed dog is a loved dog. However, if we are talking strictly about maximizing longevity, if we want our dogs to live well past 12, we have to look very critically at brands that sit on the lowest end of the price spectrum. I'm talking about brands like Ol' Roy, Gravy Train, Kibbles and Bits, Pedigree, or the generic unnamed grocery store labels. Why do veterinarians cringe when we hear these names in the exam room? It all comes down to 2 major things: ingredient sourcing and artificial preservatives. Red flag number 1, unnamed meat meals. When you turn over a dog food bag, the ingredients are listed by weight, just like human food. In cheap brands, the first or second ingredient will often be words like meat meal or poultry byproduct. Notice the missing words there? What kind of meat? What kind of poultry? When a brand uses an unnamed meat source, the FDA allows them to source whatever raw, rendered animal ingredients are the absolute cheapest on market that day. It could be beef on Monday, pork on Wednesday, and something else entirely on Friday. This constant, unpredictable changing of protein profiles can wreak absolute havoc on your dog's gastrointestinal tract. A trustworthy, healthy brand will always explicitly state the animal, like chicken meal or beef fat. Red flag number 2, artificial dyes. Have you ever bought dog food that looks like a bowl of colorful fun cereal? Little bright red, yellow, and green bone shapes? My friends, your dog is colorblind. They do not care if their food is neon red. Those artificial dyes like red 40, yellow 5, and blue 2 are put in there purely to manipulate you, the human buyer. They want you to subconsciously think the red kibble is fresh meat and the green kibble is fresh spinach. It's an illusion. Some of these synthetic dyes have been linked to behavioral issues and sensitivities, and they are completely unnecessary for your pet's body to process. Red flag number 3, dangerous preservatives. BHABHT ethoxyquin. To give cheap kibble a shelf life that lasts for years in a warehouse, extreme budget brands often use synthetic chemical preservatives like BHA, BHT, and ethoxyquin. These chemicals are highly controversial in human and animal science. In certain doses, they are recognized as known animal carcinogens, meaning they are cancer-causing agents. Think about this. If your dog is eating these chemical preservatives day in and day out, 2 meals a day for 10 years, that exposure compounds in their organs. We want to avoid these completely. Look instead for foods preserved naturally with mixed tocopherols, which is just the scientific vet-approved word for vitamin E. So, practical advice for the store. The next time you're at the grocery store, skip the highly colorful, extremely cheap bags that don't specifically name their meat sources. You might be saving pennies on your grocery bill today, but you run a high risk of paying for it in massive veterinary bills down the road. Now, let's transition to the second category. And honestly, this is where the real heartbreak happens in my veterinary clinic. This is the category of food where loving pet parents are spending an absolute fortune. Sometimes $80, $90, $100 a bag, thinking they are buying the absolute highest quality food in the world. But unknowingly, they are putting their dog at risk of severe heart failure. I'm talking about what veterinarians call the BEG diets. That stands for boutique, exotic proteins, and grain-free. Let me tell you a little story. A few years ago, the FDA released a bombshell report that sent shockwaves through the veterinary community. Cardiologists started noticing a massive, terrifying spike in a fatal silent heart condition in dogs called dilated cardiomyopathy, or DCM for short. Suddenly, young, vibrant, healthy dogs, golden retrievers, French bulldogs, mixed rescue breeds, were dropping dead from heart failure at ages 3, 4, or 5. And the one common thread between almost all of these tragic cases, they were all eating highly marketed, expensive, boutique, grain-free diets. Some of the brands that showed up heavily on that initial FDA warning list included big, expensive names like Acana, Signature, Taste of the Wild, Earthborn Holistic, and Origin. Now, I want to be extremely fair here. Some of these companies have tried to quietly tweak their formulas since the backlash. But as Dr. Tony Lee, your veterinarian, my loyalty and my priority is to your dog's safety, not to a multinational brand's profit margin. Here's exactly why you need to avoid the BEG trend if you want your dog to hit 12 years old. 1, the grain-free myth. A little over a decade ago, a marketing fad convinced humans that grains, carbs, and gluten were bad for us. Pet food marketers brilliantly jumped on this trend. They put wolves on the packaging and told you your sweet golden retriever is actually a wolf. Wolves don't eat wheat. They convinced loving, well-meaning owners that grains were causing allergies and joint pain. Here's the hard scientific veterinary truth. Grains like cooked rice, oats, and barley are perfectly healthy and highly digestible for 99% of domestic dogs. True grain allergies in dogs are incredibly rare. When a dog actually has a food allergy, it is almost always to the meat protein, usually chicken or beef. So, what happened when these boutique brands removed grains? To get the kibble to stick together, they had to replace those grains with massive amounts of peas, lentils, chickpeas, and potatoes, legumes. Veterinary cardiologists now heavily suspect that feeding these high concentrations of legumes blocks a dog's body from effectively producing or processing taurine, a critical, non-negotiable amino acid needed to keep the heart muscle beating strong. Without it, the heart enlarges, the walls thin out, and the dog goes into failure. 2, exotic proteins, kangaroo, wild boar, alligator, venison, bison. These sound incredibly premium on a menu, right? But here's the problem. Standard domestic dogs do not inherently need to eat kangaroo. More importantly, the boutique companies formulating these exotic diets rarely do the rigorous long-term safety studies required to see how kangaroo meat actually interacts with other nutrients when it's cooked and baked into dry kibble. Unless I or another veterinarian specifically prescribes a grain-free or novel protein diet for a highly specific diagnosed medical condition, like a severe inflammatory bowel disease, please do not buy into the expensive boutique hype. It is simply not worth risking your dog's heart. But before we finally get into the holy grail of dog foods, the 5 safe brands that vets globally trust, I want to take a moment to step away from the food brands themselves. As part of this channel's mission, I always want to leave you with highly practical tips on what you should avoid doing at home to keep your furry best friend safe. Because nutrition isn't just about the name on the bag, it's about how we feed them in our own kitchens. Mistake number 1, overfeeding. I know this is tough. I know that food equals love. When your dog looks up at you with those huge soulful eyes while you're eating dinner, you just want to give them one more scoop of kibble or one more piece of cheese from your plate. But I want you to remember a profound, scientifically proven fact. Dogs that are kept at a lean, healthy body weight live an average of 2 years longer than overweight dogs. 2 whole years. Being even a few pounds overweight puts intense daily strain on their joints, predisposing them to painful arthritis, and it puts a heavy, dangerous load on their heart and liver. If you want your dog to see 12, 13, 14 years old, you have to protect their waistline. You should be able to easily feel their ribs if you run your hands along their sides without having to press hard. Mistake number 2, kibble dumping into plastic storage bins. This is a massive mistake that almost every pet owner makes, and they do it thinking they are being organized. You buy a beautiful plastic storage bin, you slice open the dog food bag, and you pour all the loose kibble straight into the plastic tub. Please stop doing this today. Dog kibble is carefully coated in essential fats and oils to keep it tasty and nutritious. Over time, as the kibble sits in that bin, those fats seep into the microscopic pores of the plastic walls. Even if you wash the bin with soap, that microscopic fat stays trapped and eventually goes rancid. When you dump your next fresh bag of $60 dog food into that bin, it instantly gets contaminated by the rancid fat coating the walls. Rancid fat causes terrible stomach upset, diarrhea, and destroys the delicate vitamins in the food. The vet-approved fix: keep the kibble inside the original bag. Those bags are heavily engineered to keep the food fresh and safe. Just take the whole bag and place it inside your plastic storage bin to keep the bugs and mice out. Mistake number 3, dirty bowls. If I asked you to eat your dinner off the exact same unwashed plate for 7 days straight, you'd be absolutely horrified. But many of us simply dump fresh kibble over yesterday's kibble crumbs day after day. A dog's bowl mixed with dog saliva is a massive breeding ground for salmonella, E. coli, and yeast. Protect your dog's gut health and their immune system by washing their food and water bowls every single day with hot, soapy water. It takes 2 minutes and adds years to their health. All right, my friends, you've made it this far, and we've talked a lot about what to run away from. Now let's talk about what to run toward. When you ask a professional, board-certified veterinarian what you should feed your dog, 99% of us are going to give you the exact same list of 5 brands. And look, I can almost hear the YouTube comments typing right now. But Dr. Tony, those brands sponsor vet schools. Vets get secret kickbacks for pushing those. Let me look you in the eye and stop that rumor right here once and for all. I do not get a single dime from any of these companies. My clinic does not get kickbacks. We recommend these foods to you for one reason and one reason only, because decades of rigorous science proves they are the safest, most thoroughly researched options on the planet. These are the 5 brands that actually meet and exceed the extremely strict guidelines set by the WSAVA, the World Small Animal Veterinary Association. They are 1, Purina, specifically Purina Pro Plan and Purina 1. 2, Royal Canin. 3, Hill's Science Diet. 4, Eukanuba. And 5, IAMS. Why do I, Dr. Tony Lee, and nearly every other vet globally trust these 5 heritage brands over the flashy boutique ones? What is the actual difference? Here are the 3 reasons. Difference number 1, they employ full-time veterinary nutritionists. Did you know that most boutique pet food companies do not have a board-certified veterinary nutritionist on staff full-time? Many simply hire a freelance recipe formulator to build a food that sounds appealing to humans. But the 5 safe brands employ massive dedicated teams of actual veterinary scientists, PhD nutritionists, and researchers who go to work every single day to study animal health. Difference number 2, they do real feeding trials. This is the single biggest difference in the entire industry. Anyone can mix ingredients into a computer spreadsheet, calculate the protein levels, print a bag, and say it is formulated to meet nutritional levels. But a spreadsheet is not a dog. These 5 brands don't just rely on math. They actually test the food by conducting extensive AAFCO feeding trials. This means they safely feed the diet to real living dogs over months and years. They constantly test the dog's blood work, they do ultrasounds on their hearts, and they guarantee that the nutrients on the label are actually being absorbed safely by the animal's body. It costs millions and millions of dollars to do this research, which is why cheap and boutique brands completely skip it. Difference number 3, flawless quality control. Many boutique brands don't even own the factories where their food is made. They use massive co-packing plants that make 50 different brands in the same room, drastically increasing the risk of deadly cross-contamination. These 5 trusted brands own their own manufacturing plants. They vigorously test their raw ingredients for salmonella and deadly toxins before those ingredients even enter the building. And they test the finished bags again before they are allowed to ship to your local pet store. If you are watching this video right now and you feel a pit in your stomach because you realize you've been feeding your dog a brand from our red flag list, please take a deep breath. Remember the cardinal rule of Dr. Tony's clinic. We absolutely do not do guilt here. You are sitting here watching a video about dog food because you love your pet so much. That alone proves you are a phenomenally caring, dedicated pet parent. We only know what we know, but now that you have this powerful information, you can make a safe, empowered choice for your dog's future. If you do decide to switch your dog's food over to one of the 5 vet-trusted brands, whether it's Hills, Purina, Royal Canin, IAMS, or Eukanuba, please remember to do it slowly. Dogs have very sensitive stomachs. Any sudden change in diet will almost certainly cause diarrhea, even if you are upgrading to the best food in the world. Spend about 7 to 10 days gradually mixing the new food in with the old food. Start with 75% old and 25% new for a couple of days, then 50-50, and slowly transition them completely. My friends, every single bowl of food you place down for your dog is a vital opportunity. It's an opportunity to fuel their cells, to protect their precious organs, and to literally grant them extra days on this earth with you. By skipping the fancy marketing, avoiding dangerous chemical trends, and trusting the hard science of veterinary nutrition, you are doing everything in your power to help them live to 12, 13, and beyond. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to hang out and learn with me. If you found this video helpful or eye-opening, please give it a thumbs up. It genuinely helps our young channel reach and educate more pet parents out there. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss our weekly vet tips. And before you go, drop a comment below. Tell me what brand of food you are currently feeding, what kind of dog you have, and what you're thinking after watching this. Let's keep this wonderful conversation going in the comments. Give your dog a big loving scratch right behind the ears for Dr. Tony. Stay safe, love your pets, and I will see you all in the very next video.